They're stacking a lot of people up front. All right, they're rushing, and it's blocked. It's through the end zone and out of play. Blocked by the Steelers. It's a safety. Two-pointer.
He's going to throw. He heaves it. Swan, touchdown. Lynn Swan, touchdown.
It looked like one of the great catches of all time.
Randy Grossman made the catch.
Behind Henderson.
The old man, what name of a capper, Randy Grossman, the guy who can only play when somebody dies or breaks a leg. So said Henderson. Huh?
Coach, I said one thing about to our football team after the game, and I sincerely believe it. I don't think we peaked yet. And we're looking forward to even bigger and better things.
Yeah. Congratulations.
This thing belongs to Mr. Rooney, belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
2nd and 8. Romo throws high, intercepted. Townsend. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
All right, and welcome and good afternoon and good morning, everybody, to this edition here of the Meta Steel Podcast. Well, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. For any of those of you just tuning in right there, just heard the highlights right there, which I put together last night. Classic Steelers versus Cowboys. I know this may not be the same Cowboys team that a lot of people were anticipating before the season schedule was released. But at this point in time right now, the good news is the Steelers do have a 2-game lead in the AFC North, are still on top, the number 1 seed by a half game over the Kansas City Chiefs. Still had started off their season with 7 straight victories. Steelers will look to maintain that ground. And not only that, too, they'll also look to get some help today, too. If the Colts could do them a favor and beat the Ravens in Indianapolis, if the Steelers do take advantage of that, and they win that game, they could have a 3-game lead in the AFC North. They are up 2 games now, thanks to last week's victory just recently. It doesn't get any better than this. Once again, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you definitely do so. But follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey is my main handle. For the Meta Steel Podcast on Twitter, it is at Meta Steel CTR, which I do a lot of my tweeting versus my Prodigy Richey. So make sure you tune in to me much more on that. And then on Instagram at Meta Steel Nation. Not only that, like I said, it's just one of my favorite times of the year right now, as everyone could see. I got the 75 Mean Joe Green Joe jersey for the 1975 season. The American patch, by the way, which is the 200th anniversary, the 200th year of this country at that point in time. Pretty much all teams, I believe, I want to say, wore it that year. And it was a special season. That's probably like one of my personal favorite jerseys. I've seen the Steelers rock. And I love this patch on here a lot. And don't forget, too, Mean Joe Green, the guy who grew up in Texas. He's definitely one of the guys who's erring on the side of caution, watching out for a potential trap game coming up today, which I definitely see. And the thing is, we'll get into my keys to the game later on. But I got to tell you right now, still up in the air right now if Ezekiel Elliott is going to give it a go or not. And I got to tell you, it would definitely be a huge blow to the Cowboys right now because, believe it or not, they're still in this NFC East division at this time. And I don't know about them, but I would imagine they'd probably be doing some scoreboard watching today, just kind of keep tabs on everything, because right now, as far as like the opponents in the division, you got the Washington football team hosting the New York Giants. And then you also, right now, for this point in time too, I mean, when we take a look at it, I want to say the Eagles right now, they're on their bye this week, so they'll probably be scoreboard watching the Washington and New York Giants game, because right now the Cowboys at this point in time, I mean, when we take a look at the current NFC East standings, they're a game and a half out So, I mean, either way, I mean, the main thing is they're only going to gain like a half a game. I mean, on this division, I want to say. I want to say a game and a half. Game and a half, I'm not sure because with a tie. But other than that, I mean, you still got something worth fighting for at the end of the day. As pathetic as a lot of people want to make them turn out to be, I don't believe that to be the case. I really could see this right now because the ironic thing is when we look at like when the last time the Steelers started off their season 7-0, 1978, guess what team they lost to? It was a Texas team, the Houston Oilers. Will this be the case today with going up against Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium? I hope not, but I got to tell you right now, the thing is where I still get very concerned with this defense is more how they play in the fourth quarter. I mean, yes, they're finding ways to win, but there's been at least 3 games where you've been up very minimal by 2 touchdowns or more and nearly collapsed right there. So I'm looking at like a second half and like fourth quarter defense, to be honest with you. Those are like definitely tipping concerns when I pay attention to this team real closely at the end of the day, especially when they had that 20-point lead against the Tennessee Titans a couple of weeks ago. Don't forget, too, a big reason why they won that game, too, was controlling the time of possession in that ball game, if you ask me. I thought that was very vital, very key. And that definitely really helped them, win that game. But that was flipped. They'd have their first loss by now. I promise you that. But, other than that, right now, we are talking the Steelers right now, the latest injury report, which we will get to in a second. The statuses for today's game, I am not sure what is happening. I think the inactives will probably get closer to like maybe about an hour before the game, I want to say. But other than that, feel free to hit me up here. Let me know where you are watching the Steelers games. Are you watching with friends? Are you watching at a Steeler bar? Or if any of you happen to be the lucky, fortunate people going to the game, please let me know if you guys are attending it live and in person with the minimal fan attendance. So we'll find out right now as we look at everything when we take a look at it. And we got some breaking news right now that was announced early this morning within the AFC North. Right now, I'm gonna read this right now as we're looking. This is posted by the Cleveland Browns on their website, and Ed Werther, he retweeted this. He covers the Cowboys and the NFL for ESPN. You can follow him on social media at Werther Ed ESPN. And, he's a big Cowboys guy, but the Browns, they just announced that they were informed Saturday morning that a staff member tested positive for COVID-19. And right now, when we take a look at it, contact tracing was conducted and close contacts were immediately self-isolated, When the team returns to work following the bye on Monday, it will follow the NFL and NFLPA intensive protocol. We will continue to work closely with the league and medical experts on the appropriate next steps with the health and safety of our players, coaches, and staff members remaining our highest priority right there. So there you have it right there. And also, too, they have placed quarterback Baker Mayfield on the reserve and COVID-19 list. Now, remember, when a person gets put on that list, they cannot specify for whatever the reason is. He gets on there. I guess he's going to do whatever process he's got to do to self-quarantine. But that is some breaking news what we just heard within the last 2 hours. Like I said, follow Ed Werther on Twitter at Werther Ed ESPN. So that's one of the unfortunate news right there. Prayers and thoughts go out to him, and hopefully he'll be able to get safe soon. But like I said, too, I think for right now, when you look at a game like this going into today, the Steelers, I think, definitely are much more mentally and all-around prepared. I'm still always going to be banging the drum of any given Sunday, and I just don't want to, just go in here overconfident thinking that this is going to be a shoe-in win, because at the end of the day, too, you still got to watch out for if Ezekiel Elliott's not going to play. Obviously, he's going to be one of the top guys to pay attention to, but you also still got to watch out for Amari Cooper and rookie CeeDee Lamb right now. When you look at these guys, they have been such a dynamic duo so far, despite the losing efforts. When you look at both these guys here, on the Cowboys team under Mike McCarthy. I mean, yeah, you had a lot of heartbreaking losses this year and got beaten ugly at times. But, I mean, when you really look at this Cowboys team, I mean, for the most part, I mean, for this season, I mean, for the most part, all this season, when they lost a lot of their games, they at least had 4 out of their 6 losses were by double-digit deficits. But like I said, when you look at guys like I said, like CeeDee Lamb, especially Mari Cooper right here on this team right now, I mean, you got these guys right now combining for when we take a look at it, over 1,100 yards at this point. So it's pretty impressive right there, to say the least. And 1,112 yards with 4 touchdowns on the year. So we'll find out how things continue to work itself out for this game going into it. And this is a real cool thing right now. But other than that, expecting to be an exciting game at the end of the day. Still a great feeling either way. I don't know about anyone else, but covering this team and being a fan of this team, I just want to say Steelers Cowboys is one of the biggest reasons why I became a Steeler fan. That started me off. Watching Super Bowl 13 on ESPN Classic, ESPN2 highlight films, that always drew me in to the Steelers right there. Then I was also a big Bill Cowher guy. I'm sure many people heard. I love me some Mike Tomlin, don't get me wrong, but I mean, and I think back to guys like Cordell Stewart, Jerome Bettis, Rob Woodson, and then when you started to have like a guy, aside from Jerome Bettis, you also had like Ben Roethlisberger, and it was Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, even guys like James Ferrier, and like some of the guys later on over the years. I mean, you look at the attitude of this team right now, it is something that is very damn special to behold. And not only that, too, I mean, I think the window for this team is getting close, dangerously close to closing down the road. And you got to, like, strike the iron while it's hot, as a lot of people will definitely pay attention to, because at the same time, nothing is ever promised, of course. But at the same time, too, you got to make sure, because with the salary cap being dropped to about $176 million, the Steelers being around at $19 million in the hole, I mean, they're going to have a lot of work to do. You may have to part ways with a lot of guys. Now, I was hearing Bob Pompiani talk about this on 93.7 The Fan. One of the biggest questions is, too, Mike Tomlin seems to be the odds-on favorite right now to be winning Coach of the Year for this year. And that's why I'd like to look at. I mean, when we take a look at the odds, heading into this season, Mike Tomlin was barely in that category. But here's the thing, too, with Coach of the Year, too, that usually goes out a lot of times to coaches who, turning teams around and was able to, get them to at least very minimal a playoff seed the following year. And that's the only unfortunate thing, too. But when you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin, in his case, I mean, doing what he did without Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, almost making the playoffs. They didn't. They ended on a 3-game losing streak. But they went on the goal and missed the playoffs. I mean, they were this close to making it, had destiny in their own hands at one point. Literally could have just 1 hour, just won 2 games with a loss. They would have been in it. I mean, this year, I mean, when you look at, it's very rare that you see guys in, the Super Bowl era that have been able to win Coach of the Year and win the Super Bowl in the same year. It's happened 7 other times. You had it with Don Shula in 1972, the perfect season by the Miami Dolphins, speaking of which. The late Don Shula, God rest his soul, and love and respect to him and his family and those Dolphins. And then you also had 2, Bill Walsh, 1981, the 49ers' very first Super Bowl championship, just like the Dolphins was in 72. And you also had Joe Gibbs in 1982 for the Washington football team. And then you had Mike Ditka coming in at number 4 for the 85 Bears, Monsters of the Midway, right there, winning their only Super Bowl, their 9th total NFL championship all time. And then at number 5, you have the Big Tuna, Bill Parcells, helping the Giants win their very first Super Bowl in 1986. Dick Vermeil, 1999 with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk, the greatest team on turf. And then last but not least, Bill Belichick right now, back in 2003 with the Patriots. They missed the playoffs the previous year. And when you look at it, too, I mean, a lot of those guys, I mean, aside from the last couple of people, I mean, the history a lot of times here, teams are usually having, like, kind of like not even playoff contention or a very low seed, and they end up getting Coach of the Year the following year. I mean, depending how things work out. Now, with that being said, I think for right now, for Mike Tomlin, if he's going to be able to clinch it for this season, what he has to do, in my eyes, he's got to clinch the number 1 seed, in my opinion. The number 1 seed. And now that, I mean, you also got a guy like right now, too, in the NFL. I mean, you got Tom Flores of the Miami Dolphins right now, who's doing a whale job with that team. Now, remember, his very first year coaching. I mean, excuse me, Brian Flores. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I mean, when we take a look at Brian Flores right now, who's in his second year with the Miami Dolphins, started first year 5-11, but I mean, when you look at like down the stretch, what he was able to do, I mean, in that season right there, I mean, just being the Patriots, their final game. I mean, you look at that month of December right there, they won 3 out of their 5 games, only losing to the Jets and the Giants that month. But still, I mean, you look at like the turnaround, what they had to do, what they had to give up with a guy like Mika Fitzpatrick at the time, which the Steelers are definitely benefiting from. I mean, a lot of people are still wondering, like, you know, how come he hasn't been making a lot of plays? Well, I mean, a lot of times the quarterbacks have not been throwing to him. They've been smart. But when you look at the job, like what he's doing there with the Miami Dolphins, too, if they're able to steal that AFC East division away from the Bills, you may see it go over to him instead, Brian Flores. I don't know. The only time it's ever happened in the history of this league, in case everyone's ever wondering, only one time where there was a co-coach of the year, where 2 coaches won it, and that was in 1967. That was with George Allen of the Los Angeles Rams and Don Shula of the Baltimore Colts, shortly before he went over to Miami Dolphins a few years later. That's the only time we ever seen 2 coaches win it. I doubt that'd be the same thing again this year, too. I mean, plus there's also a lot of talk right now, too. I mean, will we see, like, Ben Roethlisberger at least get, like, maybe, like, comeback player of the year? I mean, we're looking at things. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement brewing around this team right now. But like I said, too, you got to make sure you're handling business right now. There's still a lot of people holding their breath and watching this team, as am I. And you got to just continue to take things from a realistic approach. I mean, I love what I see, but at the same time, too, I want to see more of it. And I just don't want to, like, count my chickens before they're hatched. I mean, this does seem to be almost like a dream season in some ways. A lot of people making comparisons to that 2008 Steelers team defensively right there. And you look at the special highlights they've been putting on that year. I mean, think about it. Like 2008, what happened in that year? They beat the Cowboys at home in Pittsburgh. Then the following week, beat the Ravens in Baltimore. Kind of like a similar scenario again, wouldn't you say? But the only difference is flip-flopped. In Baltimore, then on the road in Dallas. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff right there, if you ask me. But, I mean, don't forget, last week would have been their bye week if not for the Titans testing quarantine. I mean, for having some positive tests. And speaking of which, by the way, too, which was really disappointing to hear right now, that led the headlines yesterday morning, as announced by Bob Pompiani of 93.7 The Fan. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at KDPomp. And the Steelers, they have been fined a grand total of $350,000. $250,000 for the Steelers and $100,000 for Mike Tomlin in mask violations during their win over the Ravens. Steelers were the third team that was fined for that, and the Titans were fined $350,000 for their outbreak earlier in the season, and the Raiders have been stripped of $650,000 and a sixth-round pick for their repeated violations. Now, remember, if you guys remember, on Thursday, I had my guy, Bryan DeArdo, who was on with me, and I love staying in touch with him. I mean, he was one of the guys who first broke the news to me during the podcast. They had to make that report, so he had to take a timeout. But that's how serious it's getting right now. And right now, the Steelers, they've only had one positive test. Thankfully, it wasn't a player, but unfortunately, it's a staff member. Now, that staff member is unknown for right now, but just want to give our love and prayers out to him and whoever that is or she, and that they recover safely and are able to resume activities when permissible. But more importantly, continue to fight this virus, and then not only that, just the racial issues in this country, by the way. Once again, for any of those of you tuning in right now, we are talking Steelers and Cowboys rivalry weekend right now. One of my favorite times as a Steeler fan personally. And they're making their second trip in the new AT&T Stadium. Last time they were there was since 2012. They lost that game, by the way, too. When we take a look at it, last time they were there back in 2012, I feel that was a key game right there. That cost them the playoffs, in my opinion. Aside from that Bengals loss the following week, that was on December 16th. They lost that game 24-27. And all I just remember, the highlight from that game was the fumble by Antonio Brown on the special punt team's return. And that was just the only heartbreaker right there in that matchup. Right now, the Cowboys, they lead the all-time.
Here come the bus! Here come the bus!
We're back. Thank you very much. Sorry for that long pause right there. Like I said, the joys when you're doing podcasting at home right here. Helping my out with some stuff right now. But other than that, yeah, Steelers, Cowboys right now. Exciting weekend right now. Like I mentioned, the Cowboys actually lead the all-time head-to-head series matchup, regular season and in the playoffs, 17-15, regular season 16-13 right now. Steelers with a win today, they'll have a chance to pull in a game closer under 500 all-time matchups. Once again, thank you for those of you who are tuning into the Mass Steel podcast right now. You can follow me on my Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. And like I said, just some very, very surprising find right there to see Mike Tomlin get involved with. But as you are the NFL, they are taking these violations seriously. I mean, the only thing is just trying to build a bubble, which you have people like Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis making comments on right now. It'll just be too big to accommodate, but they feel like a bubble should be implemented at least for the playoffs or something, or very soon, especially with the cold season coming up. Now, speaking of the Dallas Cowboys right now, according to their website right now, as far as the Cowboys announcing their starting quarterback, according to Nick Eatman, Rod Phillips, and David Hillman, who write for DallasCowboys.com, have yet to officially name their starting quarterback for Sunday's game. At this point, they probably won't until someone trots out for the opening series. But it's starting to sound like Garrett Gilbert will be the first quarterback out on Sunday for the Cowboys, making his NFL starting debut. According to multiple reports, Gilbert got the majority of the reps in practice this week and will get the nod over Cooper Rush, who has not started the game before, although he was Dak Prescott's backup for 3 seasons, 2007-2019. Now, Garrett Gilbert seems to be somewhat legitimate. He threw for over 2,000 yards. He threw for 2,152 pass yards in the 8 games for the Orlando Apollos. That was back in the AAF. That was short-lived back in 2019. And you look at what he was able to do, I mean, in that contest right there. And for right there, I mean, he's definitely got an arm for right now. I think the key question right now, aside from the quarterback, is Ezekiel Elliott. Cowboys are hopeful that star running back Ezekiel Elliott could play against Sunday. Now, speaking of the Steelers and Cowboys injury report going into this game, let's check it out right now. I got you covered right now. We got 2 guys that are doubtful for today's game. We got Mike Hilton, who's dealing with a shoulder injury. Their nickel. He is doubtful, as well as Stefan Wisniewski. Now, remember, Stefan Wisniewski has been released right now. And meanwhile, according to Dale Lally of DK Pittsburgh Sports, they officially added inside linebacker Avery Williamson to the 53-man roster. And not only did they release guard Stefan Wisniewski, but also running back Trey Edmonds. The Steelers activated Wisniewski from injured reserve earlier this week, but he was unable to practice because of the injury. The team could still bring the Pittsburgh native back to his active roster at some point, though the Steelers have been happy with the play of rookie guard Kevin Dotson as well. Now, in addition to Williamson, the Steelers also have activated linebacker J. Roland Elliott from the practice squad to appear in Sunday's game. Teams are permitted this year to carry 55 players on game days this season, up from 53 in previous years. So 2 more people you could have right now going into this game to carry for game days. So that's news right there. So let's get into the rest of the injury report. You also got Tyson Alalalu, nose tackle. He is out with a knee injury. And that's about it. Now, and then you also got Vance McDowell, your tight end. He's questionable due to an illness. As for the Cowboys, as you just heard, with Ezekiel Elliott with the hamstring injury, he is questionable. He was limited in practice all week. Their punter, Chris Jones, he is out due to an abdomen injury. He did not practice all week. And then you got Aldon Smith right now dealing with a knee injury. He's their designated pass rusher. He is questionable. And last but not least, their weak side linebacker, Joe Thomas, dealing with a wrist injury. He was full participant on Friday. He wasn't put in the practice report on Wednesday or Thursday, but he was also questionable for today's game. So let's find out what goes down in this game for right now. But other than that, I'm definitely looking right now. I mean, when we take a look at it, for a winnable game for the Steelers, to be honest with you. I don't want to sound overconfident, but like I said, I do like what I see for them all season, setting the tempo of the games. I mean, the only time where they really had to play comfort behind football, if you really think about it, was against the Texans and against the Ravens so far. I mean, so 2 out of their 7 victories, they play comfort behind, and the Giants, excuse me. So 3 out of 7, which is not that bad. So 4 out of your 7, you're at least, I mean, setting the tempo, which is a good thing. Now, according to Michael Yelkin of the Dallas Morning News, the Cowboys are preparing to be without Ezekiel with the hamstring, but they've also elevated fullback Shewo Lanalua from the practice squad. More backfield depth behind Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, if it is inactive. Mike McCarthy has sent Elliott to have a pregame workout. And there you have it. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Keys to the game for this matchup for today. Key number 1, blitz early and often. Yes, Steelers are number 1 in sacks with 30 this year, but the Cowboys, on the flip side, they have surrendered the 5th most sacks with 24 for the season. So that's going to be a key thing right here, especially when you look at what they do against rookie quarterbacks right there. So that definitely blitz off early and often. And try and find a way to harness Ezekiel Elliott if he does play in this game. Key number 2, B. James Conner early and often. Cowboys are last in the league, surrendering the most yards on the ground, 1,367 yards grand total, 5.1 yards per attempt. So I'll be definitely looking for the Steelers to run the game a lot more, run it down their throats, which could help them control the clock. And usually the Steelers have been very good at top 4 right now in controlling the clock and time of possession. And last but not least, key number 3, keep Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb to under 150 combined yards receiving. They are 2-5 so far when they are under 150 yards receiving for that contest. And that's going to be my keys for today's game. And I hope you guys enjoy this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Once again, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. And then you can also follow me for the Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter at MassSteelCGR, at MassSteelNation on Instagram. And real quickly, I just want to like to hear your top all-time Steelers Cowboys moments. I'll definitely have to go with Steelers Cowboys Super Bowl 13, Super Bowl 10, which would be another one with Lynn Swann, and of course 2008. Those would be my all-time favorite matchups right there. But other than that, looking for a real good victory today. Have a good feeling about this. But just continue to just take care of business, and we'll see what happens and let the rest sort itself out. All right, as I always leave you, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers, here we go. I gone.